Hello and welcome to the Boro Breakdown Podcast. Boro's unbeaten run lives to see another week, and I'm delighted to be joined by Tom and Matt to discuss the 7th league game without defeat. As always, we will start with our key takeouts from the game. So, Tom, do you want to kick us off with your key takeout from Boro's draw against Southampton?
Yeah, I mean, I went on a bit of a journey trying to figure out what my take on that game was yesterday because obviously the first thing I thought of after the game was how am I going to describe that on the pod. But I think initially I was a little bit disappointed, and I mean more so in our performance of the fact that we didn't get anything. I didn't feel like the first half was particularly good. I thought there was a lot of mistakes, and we were giving the ball away, which was leading to them creating chances. By the way, I saw that mentioned a lot yesterday. I don't want to take anything away from Southampton because they are a good team. You look at that team and just look at like the strength they have on paper and just think, yeah, they are probably in a false position in the league. Well, they deserve to be there at the moment, but it's going to even itself out and click for them like later in the season. I'm sure of that. Second half, I thought we were much better. We're kind of used to that at this point. Shocked there was no changes at half time. Then obviously they get the goal kind of what felt like against the run of play. I thought we were on top from probably around the 50th minute up until they scored. And then I did think that after they scored, they probably sat back a little bit too much and tried to defend it. We got back on top and got the goal. So ultimately, I was happy with the point at the end. If you'd have said before that game, would you take a point away at Southampton? And I said, absolutely. I think some people, including myself, did get a little bit carried away during the week, even if they weren't saying it. I was quietly confident going into it thinking, yeah, you know what? We could go there and beat them. Like it's 22 years to the day since we last won there or something like that. So it's written, isn't it? It's one of those things that it'll pop up on Football Manager and then it'll happen. But yeah, it's I got a little bit carried away during the week, and yeah, I was happy with the point in the end, but there were a few things in the performance I wasn't happy with, and it's just got me thinking kind of ahead to Stoke. We need to cut out those mistakes, essentially. So yeah, I suppose ultimately key takeaway would be we got the point, we deserved it, but I would say the draw was fair, and we've managed to keep our undefeated run going, which is probably going to do a fair bit for confidence. So hopefully we can carry it on for the next 2 games before the international break.
Yeah, I second all of that. I was delighted to get out of there with a point, to be fair, because I think if you look back at that game in 15, 20 games time, I think it'll look like a tremendous point in hindsight, I think, as the season moves on. So, yeah, my key take-up was, it was probably our worst performance of the season, especially first half, but to still come away with something, I think is massively important. And again, to show the characteristics to come from behind at a place like that, and they've got as good players as they do, I think to see us, changing formation, making 5 changes before the 75th minute and just proactively doing our best to get something from that. And I think ultimately getting what we deserved in the end, I think was really, really good to see. And them fighting qualities, I think, are going to be really important. The resilience of the team, we saw it at Preston, we saw it again yesterday. So, yeah, I think it's just a really good attribute to have as a team, that when you go to a place like Southampton or anywhere in the Championship, you don't play well, you still come away with something. I think it's massively important. And I think, going into a 3-game week, I was more worried about the Stoke game, weirdly. And I was more thinking about that based off of the Southampton game. I was thinking, I don't want us to lose at Southampton. And then I wouldn't say there'd be pressure on Stoke, but then if you don't win there, things get a little twitchy going into the Pompey game. So I just thought, don't lose. Keep the unbeaten run, keep the momentum going into the Stoke game. And that now feels like the kind of free hit that the Southampton game felt like. So I'm just glad we've kept things ticking over, and it helped that once again results went for us. So overall, it could have been better, but it could have been a lot worse as well.
Yeah, I think my key takeout for this week, and I will preface this by saying that Boro's position in the league table is subject to change, of course, but we are currently league leaders for a reason. It's no fluke. We haven't been plucky. We've earned it. We've deserved it. We've started the season being really efficient, and I think that's the big theme from the opening 7 games. The performances need work, and I do agree with Tom in what he said about the performance yesterday. I don't think we were good by any stretch, but like against Preston, we found a way to get a result. And I think that's surely a sign of a good team at this level, that one that can take a setback and react to it and can adapt as well. We're using our squad to good effect, and I think that's a big positive as well. I think that's why we're backing up the points and packing the points onto our tally really early on. And that's a huge positive because it gives us margin for error. Of course, like, we don't want to lose, but we will at some point. And so I think it's good that, unlike other seasons where we've been trying to catch teams up and recover losing points early on this season, we've got them on the board. And that is pivotal, really, for a playoff push. It gives us a really good platform. Let's speak about the Southampton game then, because Boro's unbeaten run goes on thanks to Kalien's 78th minute goal. And it means we are now one of only 2 teams yet to taste defeat in the EFL. The others, Coventry, obviously. Guys, are you happy with that result? We'll kind of go into the game a little bit more, but yeah, what did you make of the performance?
I'm happy with it. I'm always kind of the opinion that if you can't win, just don't get beat and come out of there with at least something to show for it. And we did that yesterday. I think, as I mentioned, the performance wasn't particularly great. I mean, you look at like who they had in their team and who was pressing our players. Maybe it's not a surprise that we were, holding on a second too long and making mistakes at times. But yeah, I thought defensively we did well to kind of keep out some of the chances. And I didn't think up until I thought they looked dangerous every time they went forward, but I still didn't feel like they were going to score up until the point that they did. I thought there was a lot of crosses that we were cutting out. But when they did score, I thought, well, we probably give them too many chances at this point. And it was obviously great character to come back from that as well. I think as Matt said earlier, and I think Johnny actually said this in our group chat kind of straight away after the match, like, it's going to be one of the biggest points of the season. Looking back on it, if we do well, we can look at that and think that that's going to be a massive point. And I absolutely agree with that. I mean, if we can, say, in the reverse fixture, beat Southampton at home, then you've taken 4 points off a parachute team, and you haven't lost. So it's something that really we need to be doing with the teams around us, is beating them at home and not getting beat away. So yeah, if we can do that later in the season, we can look back at this and think, yeah, you know what, that game was solid to build on. It kept the run going and kept our momentum going. Maybe if we'd have lost it, it could have been a different story looking back on it, but nobody knows. Yeah, like I said, I'd have been happy with a point going into that game. We got it. I'm just looking at the next 2 now, thinking win at home. And, I think Portsmouth's always a tough place to go, but, win at home and then get something there. And we're top going into yet another international break.
Yeah, I agree with that. Already we're on, 17 points after 7 games? So we're well over the 2 points a game already. So every point matters at this stage. But yeah, I think first half it was. I don't think they were fantastic either. I think every bit of joy they got came from our mistakes, and I was really surprised to see how we kind of continued to play into their hands a little bit. It felt obvious that we needed to maybe try and hook the ball down the channels, getting behind them a little bit. I think, I don't know if it was on the opposition show you did, Dean, midweek, where Martin discussed that Hull, I think, hurt them last week by being very direct and upsetting them by being, I guess, very vertical. And I was expecting us to do the same. And on the couple of occasions, first half, we did that. I thought we got a little bit of joy from it. So I was surprised that we continued to try and play through the middle of the pitch because they just had it was so congested in there. And we were trying to play through Hackney and Morris, which we want us to do. We've been crying out for us to do that, but I think there's a time and a place for it, and I just don't think it was probably the right thing to do yesterday, especially when Hackney and Morris were just off it, weren't they? Yesterday they were a second off it. I think the defence was as well at times when we were playing out from the back. We nearly played ourselves into trouble a few times, but I still, like Tom said, I was still very, very calm about us defensively. And I go back to that foundation we've gave ourselves. I feel like if you can go to Southampton with the quality they possess, I know they're not in full floor yet, but if you can feel quite calm defensively, then I think that's a really good place to start. And again, as we've said, it's just what we do at the other end of the pitch, which probably does need work, and we'll get on to that, I'm sure. But yeah, I think we grew into the game. Second half, I was surprised there was no changes, but when he did make the changes, as we've seen, they were very, very proactive. They were very, very effective. And I do think on the balance of things, second half, we did deserve a point. And I think you could tell throughout the game, there was a little bit of tension in the crowd at St. Mary's. And I thought if we got the first goal, I probably would have felt a lot more confident that we would have went and won that game. But even when we were sort of coming back into it, you could feel the tension around the place. And then when we got the goal, we could have probably went on and won it. So on the balance of things, I think we deserved a point in the end. I don't think they were great. I don't think we were great. But as Tom said, I think just keeping them at bay, getting a point there away from home. Don't forget they're a parachute side. It's a huge point really for us. So yeah, could have been a better performance. There's a lot of improvements to be made, but you come out of it feeling like it's a better point for us than it was probably for them.
Yeah, I wasn't really too pleased with Boro's performance in the first half, and I think one of the big reasons is exactly what you said there, Matt. Hayden Hackney and Ian Morris being off the boil. Morris in particular, there was a moment in the second half that was rather indicative of his afternoon where he received a fairly easy pass, really. It was probably about 5 yards away from him, if that. And instead of taking the ball in and trapping it, it just glides under his foot. And then it becomes a loose ball. And it was just a lapse moment from Aidan Morris. Very good player, but very below his standards yesterday. And I think that both of them really struggled in their own way. Hackney was probably the better of the two, but I would still say below his usual standards. And I do want to give credit to Southampton because they probably mapped out a game plan. Well, they obviously did. They're a football team. They're trying to negate our strengths. And one of our big strengths is Aidan Morris and Hayden Hackney and the way that we play through them too. I think that if you nullify them two, you nullify a lot of Boro's build-up, and they were pressing on them pretty aggressively. They were cutting out the passing lanes so that it meant that they were effectively shut out and, they congested the middle of the park. And so I think that was a good game plan to nullify Boro. And I think they trapped them. They trapped them in. They made them indecisive on the ball. They made them take too many touches, and it put them in a bit of a precarious situation where they were vulnerable and they were suspect. And I don't think Ian Morris and Hayden Hackney are usually vulnerable and suspect. They usually dovetail really well alongside one another. And yesterday, Southampton had the good blueprint to negate that. So credit to them for that, because I think obviously we have a Boro focus. We speak about Middlesbrough. We focus on Middlesbrough, but there's another team playing there. And yeah, credit to Southampton for that. There was a moment in the first half where I was thinking, how are we not 1-0 down? And it was when Finn Azaz received the ball. He just pulls off a herd of players in the box. He has the most space that you could probably wish for in the box. And the ball kind of bounces down and up. And then he needs to get under it, doesn't he? He gets over it, and he kind of side foots it over the bar. And I'm thinking at that point, how on earth has Finn Azaz not scored there?
It was mad. And I was thinking after the goal, that is one of the chances that I feel like I saw Finn Azaz put away last year for us. The thing is, with Azaz yesterday, I think he was desperate for a goal against us. I think he looked well fired up for it. And I got a kind of flashback to, and some people listening might have been at this game and remember it. we played Forest away in our first season back in the Championship, and Assombalonga was up front. He was desperate for a goal against them.
I was in the away end. You won't be surprised to hear.
Yeah, same. He was desperate for a goal against them, and he was snatching at everything, and there was so many chances. He must have been in double figures for chances missed that game, because there was so many like on a plate for him that he just couldn't put away. And I felt like Finn Azaz was going through something similar yesterday. I looked at him and I thought, you are desperate to get a goal here, but ultimately it's in your head that much that you're snatching at chances, and you're missing stuff that when you were on form last season you would have put away.
Yeah, I think he would have put that away as well if it wasn't maybe plaguing his mind a bit. I mean, going back to Middlesbrough, aside from Hackney and Morris, I think our service was pretty poor yesterday, I would say. We got a bit of a few questions about Strelitz, and I must admit, I feel like it's very premature, the questions that we got about, like, I don't know, I think someone said if we had our pants pulled down with Strelitz, and no, we haven't. It's too early to mention anything like that. But he just didn't get service yesterday. The amount of times that I saw him make runs in behind the defence to initiate that ball played in behind rather than in front of Southampton, and then he had to track back and get back on side because it wasn't played to him, was ridiculous. Boro need to improve their servicing to him, and we will get on to Boro's front three, because it was, a lot of questions were formed around them. Formed around that, but our service yesterday was just lacking until the goal that we scored, and we will get on to that as well. Matt, you were saying in our group chat before we scored that you believed there was a goal in it for us. What made you think that?
Just psychic. I can feel a goal's coming.
Nostradamus over here.
Yeah, no, I felt like it was a mixture of things, really. I mean, I thought we started the second half really well, and a lot of the errors that Edwards spoke of, we cut out. We were a little bit better on the ball, a little bit safer on the ball in the second half. And to be fair, their goal, I think, came against the run of play, arguably, for like the 5 to 10 minutes before they scored. I felt like we were sort of the better side, and they just kind of caught us with a cross from the right-hand side, which was a fantastic finish. Of course, it was Adam Armstrong. I think he was the one who scored for them when we played them in 2024, and it was a similar game. We equalised late on in that one, I think, to rescue a draw. But I felt like the second half we come out and we were much better, and it's a good hallmark of this Boro team. You have faith that we're going to come out after half time with some sort of an improvement. Even though we didn't make the change, I thought the team that we had out there, I thought they performed a lot better. But I thought the changes just gave us a little bit more, I don't know, dynamism up front. There's a little bit more pace, a little bit more trickery. And I think paired that with just the atmosphere around Southampton, I feel like because they've not won in such a long time, there was a little bit of anxiety around the stadium when they went a goal up, because they've had such a tough time, and they've won 3 league games in the last 2 seasons or whatever it is, or season a bit. I can't remember how many games
it was. 20 games. 20 games. Was it?
So yeah, you could just feel, I think, that once they scored, they sat back, we grew into the game, and we just looked a little bit more threatening. And I think when I saw that Luke Ayling pass in behind to David Strelitz that he almost got on the end of, I thought, that's an avenue. And I thought when Ayling moved to right back, I thought he just gave us a great bit of width, and I thought he was fantastic. So I just felt like there was something in it for us. Southampton didn't give me the feel of a team that felt like they could lock the game down and manage it. There would always be a chance for us. And I think just with Boro this season, we've seen it many times. We just find a knack of getting a moment and taking it. And that's exactly what we did. So it was a mixture of a few things, but I just felt like with Southampton, the game was never dead. And I think with Boro, on the other hand, the game's never dead either. When we're behind, we always find a way of coming back. So yeah, the changes really helped. The change of system really helped. And I think when you just trust the coaching team, you trust their decisions, and you trust that they will act quickly to try and, get something from the game, then it gives us the best chance. And yeah, it did. So it was good to be right in that situation.
On the goal that we conceded, is there anything that you think could have been done to prevent that? Because, I mean, it was one of those, was it, where Tom Fellows was probably the most dangerous player for Southampton, and I think Will Still actually unintentionally did us a favour when he took him off, because he was the Southampton player that when he got the ball, I was at a nervous disposition, and I don't think that's really happened too frequently with Middlesbrough or against Middlesbrough this season, but he was the one that supplied the cross into the box. Do you think there's anything that could have been done to prevent that goal from happening? Either of you?
I don't know, because I've watched it back this morning. After that game, I didn't really want to watch the highlights back. I was just kind of like, it's over. So I'll be honest, I haven't watched it a great deal. But watching that goal back this morning, Alfie Jones gets a touch on that cross before it falls for Adam Armstrong. I do feel like it's a bit of a theme with our defending this year, where we will push teams out wide to the point where their chance creation is going to come from crosses. And then we've got enough people in the box that we can deal with those crosses. And I feel like 9 times out of 10, that is going to be effective. But I do think you're always going to get, especially with the volume of crosses that Southampton were having in this game, that one of them might take a touch like that and fall kindly for someone. I say fall kindly for someone because that was a hell of a finish from Adam Armstrong.
It was.
And he's still a player I can't believe has never played for us yet, considering the amount of times we've been linked with him and stuff like that. But yeah, fantastic finish by him. I think there's a good chance against other teams with less capable strikers, someone puts that into Rowe's head or, misses completely or something like that. But yeah, unfortunately for us, it took a touch from Jones, which fell to Armstrong. Maybe we could have done a little bit of a better job in terms of like blocking the cross in the first place. But I do still think that our defensive approach, it is set up to invite these crosses and then cut them out. So when a high volume of crosses happens in the game, I think there's always the likelihood that that's going to happen.
Maybe that's a weakness then. Maybe that's a potential weakness for Boro, a dribbler in Tom Fellows, who I think we've seen in the Championship for West Brom is very good 1v1 against a full-back, and he does that little step over and then he delivers the ball into the box. I do think it's unfortunate. I mean, Alfie Jones makes a run at the front post, which I think he's right to do. I did question it initially when I watched it back, but you can see Ross Stewart in the box. There's 2 Boro defenders attending to him. It's Edmondson and Ayling. But I actually think if Alfie Jones doesn't at least attempt to intercept that cross, and it does reach the front post, I just have a sneaky suspicion that Ross Stewart would have got to it. By the way, Ross Stewart, it's very much that Ian Wright moment where he's like, who's that? His teacher, his old primary school teacher, where it's like, oh God, you exist. I forgot that he was even a footballer, to be honest, because he's been out injured for so long. But
I was going to say, I was the same, and he went down in the first half, and I was like, yeah, that's the Ross Stewart I remember, just falling over with slight touch.
Oh God, you're still not off that, are you, Tom?
I think that's the first time I've actually seen him play since then. I think he's been injured since then.
He has, yeah. By the way, I'm really surprised that Cameron Archer didn't get on. Like, how have we got into a situation in football where Cameron Archer is not, 1, starting for a Championship club, and 2, not even coming off the bench? That's crazy to me. But yeah, back on that goal, I think it was right for Alfie Jones to make that front post move to try to intercept the cross. It was just unfortunate the way that he actually ended up meeting the ball. And then obviously, to be fair, it is a good finish. But yeah, I would file that one under unfortunate. But something to keep an eye on, actually. Dribbling against Boro, 1v1 threat against the wing-backs and the central defenders. And yeah, that the cross is what you were saying there, the crosses into the box, Tom. Kalien did score to equalise the game and snatch a point for Middlesbrough. It means he's now scored 2 in 2 for the Boro, and he's on 7 in 11 this season, actually, having scored 6 for Lausanne before his move to Middlesbrough. It was a good move for the equaliser, wasn't it, Tom?
Yeah, it definitely was. I think, as Matt was saying earlier, that ball from Ayling was definitely an avenue. I feel like we did see it a few times, even in the first half. There was one through to Strelic, and there was another one that unfortunately Hackney couldn't get on the end of because he was losing a physical battle with Nathan Wood. But I did feel like that was something we were trying to exploit, and ultimately we got that ball into Kalien. A little bit fortunate maybe with the touch. I don't know where that ball was going before it got the touch, because I think it just happened that quickly after the shot. But watching that back as well, I was just like, how did that end up going in? Because it just seemed like it kind of like lagged into the top of the net or something. But yeah, good move from us, and maybe that's something we'll see more of, especially against teams that are playing 5 at the back this season.
I feel like it was always on, that ball. They were playing a pretty high line, and I think you've got to exploit that space between the wing back and the wide centre back. And you can see in the move, Kwasi is caught on his heels, basically. The ball is played behind him, and it connects wonderfully with Kalien. I mean, it's such a good ball from Luke Ayling. And I feel like we've seen that before. We've seen that pass before from Luke Ayling last season, and even the season before that, actually. Pretty sure he supplied Lath with a ball similar. But it's a brilliant piece of service that we actually lacked in that game. And as I said, it was a difficult performance because I don't think Boro were quite connecting between the thirds, and it made it really difficult in terms of chance creation. But that was a really good moment. And Kalien, I was surprised when that went in, because the way that he receives the ball, it's a brilliant first touch, by the way, but the position in which he meets the ball, you've got Nathan Wood coming across, you've got a pretty tight angle, there's not a lot of the goal to aim for, so the fact that he hits it into the ground, it goes over Alex McCarthy via a deflection from Nathan Wood, that's just perfect. Like, there was only one way that he could have got that on target, and it was hitting it into the ground. Yes, there's a deflection as well, but that was a perfect finish from Kalien, and he's on fire in terms of his season. I mean, 7 goals in 11 games already. He's 3 off double figures, and we're not even in, the second half of the season yet. That's fantastic. Really good goal. And I thought after that, and I don't know what you guys thought, I thought, let's win it. I really wanted us to win it. I was happy with the point. I would have taken a point before kick-off. I'd have taken a point with the performance that I was watching. Kick-off. Sorry. And I was thinking, right, let's win it.
I was the same. Yeah. I was thinking before they scored, we were in the ascendancy and could have been the ones to score first. I thought the same after we scored. So then after we scored, I was kind of like, there's no reason for this to stop. Maybe we've got enough time. We can go on and win this.
I thought the same. As I said earlier, I thought their atmosphere was always fragile, and I thought they were always fragile, and that's why I kind of wish we'd have been better first half, because I do feel like we could have quickly turned the atmosphere on them had we been better. And Edwards described it really well, actually. I think he said we gave them oxygen first half. Was, again, what a wordsmith. Always finds the right word, doesn't he? Again, another thing I just thought, yeah, you've just described that perfectly, as you always do with everything. But it was the perfect description, because I think we gave them that. We gave them room to breathe. We gave them confidence. The one thing I didn't want us to do was give them confidence, because with their quality players, if they get the tails up, they could create something and create chances, and once their confidence up, they could produce something really good. So that's why I do wish that we'd have gotten on top earlier. But even when we equalised, as you said, Dee, I thought the game was still there to be won. And if anything, the one team who probably felt nervous and anxious about losing the game from that moment onwards wasn't us, it was them. So, maybe if the goal had come a bit earlier, the win was on for us. But, it was good to get it eventually. And, we could have won that game on another day. It's just a shame, I guess, it took us as long as it did to get into gear, really.
Yeah, I was hoping that we would get some possession towards the end of the game, but I think that they probably had the better of it as the game was concluding. So it was a shame, but I did I really wanted that winner. Can you imagine that if we actually won that game? What a 3 points that would have been. Matt, Rob asked us does Sen start against Stoke? Surely he has to now. Thoughts on that? Would you start Sen against Stoke?
I can see why it would make sense, because he's a striker who is in form. He's got 2 in 2. So I can absolutely see why, and especially because, and I know we'll get onto it later, the front three just isn't clicking. Like what we were trying to do with the front three yesterday just wasn't it for me. So I can see why there would be a clamour for him to start, and I can see why it would make sense. But there's something telling me to just keep him as an impact player for now. I don't know. I just feel like the idea of being a centre half and 20 minutes to go, you see Kalien coming on the pitch. I can imagine that's a daunting thought for a centre half, to see the pace and the nuisance of Kalien to come on late in the game. I think he's a fantastic option off the bench. So I think for now, I would stick with him coming on as an impact player. But I guess if things aren't going well, there's no harm, as Edwards has done already, bringing him on at half time, giving him half the game. It doesn't have to be the final 10, 15, 20 minutes. So yeah, I can absolutely see why, and I'm open to either, I guess. But I think I'm just edging towards probably keeping him as an impact player for now. But he is a player with confidence, and he is playing well. So either way, I guess it's good.
Yeah, I think I'd keep him as an impact player. That's been his role, and he's doing that role really well. So why change it? I think it's also worth noting that he's come on with the task of stretching the game a little bit. Against West Brom, we needed that type of role from a striker to get in behind and maybe help us on the counter-attack. And then yesterday as well, particularly towards the end of the game, it became a bit of a case of Middlesbrough, because of the possession that I said there that Southampton had. Our avenue was from counter-attacks, and you saw with the goal that, you penetrated that back line with that running behind. So I can understand why people would want him to start. I think it always happens when a player comes off the bench and they score. The next conversation is around, like, should they start the game instead? But I would keep him as an impact sub. It's, we've got starters and we've got finishers, and it's good to know that the finishers are impacting the game as well. Matt, there were no half-time changes from Edwards, as we've all mentioned, but he did make 2 changes after the Southampton opener, and I think it's important to mention that he was preparing those before that was scored from Adam Armstrong, and then he made 3 on 72 minutes. He also switched to a back 4. What did you make of that?
Big fan. I'm a big fan of it. Johnny made a good point. He put a TikTok video on our TikTok page, and he mentioned the word adaptability, and I think that's so important. I couldn't agree more with him on that. I think when Edwards come in, when you hear of what he's like from former clubs, I know that Luton fans, I think, were saying that he was the opposite. There was no adaptability at all. I think I remember hearing. So it's great to see, and I think it does help that he has the options done to make them changes, of course. But I think to see him making them as quickly as he did, and he did say we were going to switch to a 4 beforehand. It's just great. It's a great option to have, and I think as well, if there was one area of the pitch where you could say we're a little bit weak in depth, it probably is where Callum Britton is at right wing back. So it was quite reassuring yesterday to see that if he's injured or if he needs to come off or whatever, we've got that option to switch to a back 4. And I guess it takes a bit of pressure off the number of centre backs we need to play and need to have fit. So yeah, to know we've got that option is really good. And I thought back to his press conference that he had. Was it Friday? I can't remember if he has them. I think he has them Friday now, doesn't he? Or was it Thursday? I can't remember. But his pre-match presser that he had before the Southampton game, he was actually asked about it, and he said the plan when he came in was for us to be a 4. And I guess as we all sort of predicted he would because of his track record, he went to a 3. But then he said, we still might end up as a 4, which I found really, really interesting. So yeah, I'd be intrigued to see what he how he foresees this Boro team looking in the future, if he does prefer us as a 4 or if it is just a good backup option for us to have in games. But to be able to change it to that degree is so important, because I think that hindered us massively last season. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still feel like a lot of the issues we had last season was down to a lack of options, but also probably the stubbornness of Carrick and maybe the coaching team behind him not having the answers that maybe Watling and Viviash can provide Edwards now. But he's got everything he needs, hasn't he, Edwards, to change a game, which is so good. You know, the depth off the bench is better, the options are better, and the ability to also change system, I think, can just change a game for us. So delighted to see that we've got that in our armoury, and it's another layer to add to this team, which hopefully will benefit us going forward.
Maybe by we will move to a 4 anyway. Maybe he meant in game, so that you have Callum Britton push on and you have Target maybe become part of, back 4. So yeah, I think there's adaptability, and I think that's the good thing about a 3 or a 5 at the back. Actually, is that you could be very fluid with it, and it could be very flexible. So I'd definitely keep an eye on that. Well, shall we dish out some praise and go to the praise of place? I think we shall. Let's go. Right, it is the praise in place. If you're watching this, please comment who you would put in your praise of place this week. But as for who we will put in our praise of place, Tom, you want to kick us off with who you're going to dish out praise to this week?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with my usual 3, and I'll go with Luke Kalien. I thought great performance again from him at right side centre half, got the assist. And I think, as Rob Edwards said, I don't know if it was in his post-match or in his pre-match press conference the other day, he's 34 playing like a 24-year-old at the moment. Like, yeah. He's playing like the Luke Ayling we had on loan before we signed him. And, you know, it might not have had the best of season last season, but I don't think many people did. But he's definitely kind of bounced back and rediscovered his good form this season. So he deserves praise. Kalien for getting the goal and making that impact off the bench deserves praise for that. And then for the third one, I'm just going to say the Boro fans who were at Southampton yesterday. BBCT's kept making a point that I think it was around 2,700 Boro fans yesterday, and that's a mint figure to be taken to the South Coast. Hell of an away day. You know, a lot of travelling, a lot of miles put in there. So, and then to still put in all that noise when, you know, people were probably knackered from going down there at like early hours if they weren't kind of in the south already. So, yeah, they deserve a lot of praise for that.
Yeah, that's a good point, Tom. I think we've also sold out next week as well, Portsmouth, which is crazy. So that's a great effort from the Boro fans. I've got sort of similar to you, Tom. I second Luke Ayling. I thought he was outstanding yesterday, both defensively and obviously creating the goal. I think second half there was a ball played in behind to Adam Armstrong. Was it first half or second half? There was a ball played in behind to him anyway, and Luke Ayling, you know, read the run, tracked it perfectly, and made an outstanding challenge. I feel like he did that a number of times yesterday, but he was just great at both ends of the pitch. And I would also give it to the fridge, George Edmondson, because I'm going to be honest, I didn't see him as one of the first options to play. I thought he was maybe quite a bit down the pecking order, maybe partly because he didn't play much and maybe his form, I think, similarly to, you know, a lot of players second half of last season sort of fell off a bit of a cliff. But to get the shiner that he got last week, and which I thought he did well until he come off last week and then come in again yesterday, I thought he was really good defensively as well. He made another equally as important tackle when I think Armstrong cutting on his right foot, and it felt like it was a certain goal scoring opportunity. And I think as he was kind of falling, Edmondson, I don't know how the hell he got something on the ball, but it was a fantastic clean tackle. And another moment that probably prevented a Southampton goal, you would have thought, with Armstrong in that position. So I thought them two stood out massively in defence. And I would also give it to Kalien as well, just because all you can ask for from a striker off the bench is to come on and make an impact. And I'll never know how he scored from that angle. But I'm glad you mentioned it, Dee, actually, about him putting it into the floor. Because I thought that by kicking it into the floor, he's given it a chance. You know, could take a nick, it could bounce off the kind of like with Hansen's goal at Preston, the way he kicked it in the ground, it sort of gave it a chance. You know, if he gets under that, there's no chance it's going anywhere near the goal. It's probably into Rose Ed. So, yeah, good on Kalien for the run and the finish as well. So, yeah, they're the three I had to shout, and I think the Boro fans just naturally deserve it because, the following down there was outstanding.
I echo that. I echo all of it. Luke Erling, George Edmondson, Boro fans. Isn't it good as well, by the way, that we've praised squad options? That, well, Edmondson is a squad option. He's come in place of Darragh Lenihan, and he's done well. He's done well. It's just a reminder that the players that we've got as the competition options, if you will, can step up and perform as well. And I actually think because of that, we've raised our floor a little bit. That's one of the key takeouts of the first 7 league games. Boro last season at their best were very good, but their worst, I think, were too susceptible to being targeted in many different ways. But this season, it feels like players that are coming into a very good environment, a winning environment, a brilliant standard, and they're performing as well. So shout out to George Edmondson. I really love that moment that you mentioned there, Matt, about Edmondson nicking the ball off Adam Armstrong when it seemed set that Adam Armstrong was going to shoot. And I thought, oh shit, if he shoots here, this is going in. I could just see it bending into the corner past Solbrin, and it's 2-0. So I think that was a really important moment in the game, and I want to praise that as well. And of course, the Boro fans. You see Boro people everywhere. I remember seeing a Boro taxi in Chester Zoo, and I turned around and thought, what the fuck? Why is that there? But you will see Boro fans everywhere. You'll see Boro people everywhere. So it's no surprise that Boro fans travel in their numbers and get everywhere as well. The fact that they've got 2 back-to-back South Coast trips and they're attending both of them in their masses is massive credit to them. So hats off. Yes, as I said, if you have your people to praise, please shot it in the comments. We do love a little bit of positivity on this podcast, even though last season we were a bunch of doom and gloomers. But anyway, we will move on to podcast questions now. Right, it's podcast questions. You know where to find us. We are on email, borobreakdown@hotmail.com. We're on Twitter as well, Boro_breakdown. We'll never call it X, by the way. We're on Instagram, Boro Breakdown, and we're on Facebook and Blue Sky as well. So the first question is from Danny Beardmore. He asks, what's our best front 3 and why and how would you use them within the system? So, Tom, I'm keen to hear who your best front 3 is and how you would use them in Rob Edwards' system.
See, I'm not too sure on this yet because I don't think we've seen it click with any front 3 at the moment. I think Conway deserves to be there. I think Strelic should be there based on his ability, and I'd have Nipan there as well. But then that
Agreed.
as a front 3, I don't feel like that. We've seen what that front 3 can offer yet, so I can't say that that's the best mix of those players specifically. But they're probably the 3 players I would have up front based on ability and kind of work rate and what they offer. Whether or not that's the best front 3 that would gel, I'm not sure. Be interested to hear what you guys think on that.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because the question is, what's our best front 3? And I don't even think Rob Edwards knows that yet. But on paper, I would say, as I mentioned before, Conway number 9 or Sen. In my head, it's either Conway or Sen as the number 9, not Strelitz. And then Strelitz and Nipan as the 2 10s. But Matt, I'm keen to hear what you would say about that.
Yeah, I think on individual ability, the 3 you instantly go to is Nipan, Strelitz and Conway. I just think the order's maybe not quite right. I think even though it's only been a few games, I think we've seen enough to suggest that I would swap Conway and Strelitz round. I don't think you're getting the most out of Tommy Conway, the best out of Tommy Conway as a 10, although he can play all right then, do a job. And I think I just want to see Strelitz a little bit more involved in the game. And we've seen, from what he did at Bratislava, he can drop in and be a good sort of link-up player. And I think if you swap them round and put Nipan alongside them, I think that's a decent front 3. I mean, again, we're going off of just what we perceive would be good. We don't know how 3 of them are going to work together. I think you put in the chat yesterday, Dee. It was a funny comment that Strelitz and Conway have red line chemistry.
They do.
which was a good point. And that might be the case even if you swap them round. I don't know. But I just think Conway, he's a pain in the arse up front, isn't he? He'll absolutely press the life and chase everything, and give you that them real high energy levels up front from the 9. And I'd rather have that from a 9 under Edwards. I'd rather have a really high pressing 9. So I think he's just better suited to that over Strelets. And I just think Strelets can play both positions. I'm not sure Conway can as effectively. I think if you want to get the best out of Conway, you want him in that 9. And Strelets can absolutely play behind him. So I'd like to see them two swapped round with Nipan starting. I know a lot of people question the decision to not play Nipan yesterday, but I'm sure I heard he was ill. I don't think it was confirmed, but I think, regardless, if you can start Nipan, I think you start him just down to his quality, to be honest. But again, we don't know if that will work. Maybe bringing in Kalien and having a little bit more pace up front, or super pace up front with Sen, then that would maybe help things. I don't know. But for me right now, I would say swap Strelets and Conway and put Nipan alongside them.
You know what I'm kind of thinking with Conway? Admittedly, I'm not sure I fully understand what type of player that he is. And I think the best way I can describe him is in terms of his performance and how he approaches games. He's a jack of all trades and maybe a master of none. And I don't want that to come across as if it's a criticism, because it's not. But I think that he's somebody that off the ball can press and initiate that and chase and just be a nuisance. But many Boro fans have flagged this as well, that I've heard a lot that Conway isn't a striker. I've heard that a lot. So I feel like there's maybe question marks over, okay, where is Conway best playing? And the fact that we're seeing him now a little bit more withdrawn as the number 10 is maybe also adding to that. So I don't know, is he a penalty box striker? I think he's a decent finisher, so maybe, but the way that he approaches the game, I think his quickness on and off the ball, the goal against West Brom, you were right to flag, Matt, that it's a reminder that with the ball at his feet, his footwork is good. So there's a lot of different qualities to his game, and I'm not sure that Conway has yet to harness what is his game, what is his thing. So yeah, that also feeds into the discussion around what is Boro's best front three, because one of those players there in Conway, I'm not sure like what his best position is, although I can think number 9, but I don't know for sure. Maybe it's number 10. I don't know. But it will be interesting to see Rob Edwards develop that front three and find what the best system, or what the best trio is. Because there's, going back to the key takeouts from last week's pod, there's still a lot to learn about this Middlesbrough side. Maybe the front three is one of those things. Next question is from Jonathan on Blue Sky. He asks, should we be worried about our ongoing low XG performance? Oh, the dreaded XG. I can already hear people tuning out. Surely with the attacking talent we now have, we should be doing better. I'll take this one, because I do think we should be doing better in terms of the way that we create chances, but I'm not worried about it. And the reason why I'm not worried about it is because of Boro at the back. Boro, even without the data, even just looking at the eye test, I haven't really felt that unnerved, apart from Tom Fellows yesterday driving at the Middlesbrough defence. That's probably the only time that I felt really a nervous disposition watching us against the ball. But I think we've improved in terms of being aggressive out of possession and that counter press, making sure that we try to win the ball back quickly. And I don't really think that we're allowing that many shots against us. So yeah, just for context, for XG, we ranked 20th in the league. We've scored 12 goals from 7.2 expected goals for per FOTMOB. But our XG against is the best in the league. 5 goals conceded from 5 expected goals against. So Boro are essentially harnessing a situation where 1 goal is probably enough for them to get a result, as we saw yesterday. There will be a point probably where the standards of the league will improve and Boro will have to improve with it. And maybe we can't get away with 1 goal equals a result. Maybe we have to score 2. But the good thing about Boro is that we're not making it a basketball game. We're not having to score 3 because we've conceded 2. We're not having to score 2 because we've conceded 1. Like, it's good that, well, to be fair, we did against West Brom, but you know what I mean? We're not making it a high scoring affair where it's like, I punch you, you punch me back, I punch you again, you punch me back. And that's really good. And I think that's a sign of a good team, because it's that solid foundation that Rob Edwards has started with. He's come in and he's tried to improve upon that, and he has done. And that's why I'm not worried about our low XG performance. I'll probably rephrase it to say I'm mindful of it, because from the eye test, I don't think that we're creating as much as maybe we should do or I want us to. And the data, the underlying data reflects that. As I said, 20th in the league for XG. But whilst our defence is good, I have no reason to worry about the XG4 at the moment.
I'm kind of similar, but also I think there's a couple of potential attacking outputs in this team that haven't fully clicked yet. I think we can see it from set pieces. I think we can see it from the defence playing directly, like Kalien was yesterday. And I think we can see it from when we're pressing high up the pitch and we're winning the ball high up the pitch. We saw it a little bit against West Brom with that second goal, but I think combination play between the 10s and the striker is something that hasn't fully clicked yet and will add something once it does. And I also think that chance creation from the wing-backs is something that we haven't seen the best of yet. So I think once you get those two things going, and if you keep our defensive XG against the same, I think that's the recipe that kind of kicks this team onto another level, because you're essentially keeping the goals out, but then you add in more attacking outputs to your armory, which is only going to help improve the XG4.
Yeah, agree completely. Go on, Matt.
Yeah, I was going to say I put a lot more stock in our XG against than I do our XG, and I looked at it last season, and I think of the three teams that went up last season, I think only one of them, being Leeds, was in the top 6 for XG. I think Sheffield United and Sunderland weren't. I think they were top half, but they weren't in the top 6. However, if you flip that and looked at the XG against table last season, all three teams that went up were in the top 4. And I think Burnley were an example last season. I don't want to use them as the absolute example, because I do think their defence was just an extreme, ridiculous joke. I don't think we'll be that good, but I just think you've got to have that if you want to get promoted. You've just got to, and I think it's a must to have. And I think it's so important. If you're so good at the back, you only need one goal to win a game. I think it's such an advantage rather than needing 2, 3, or even more. So I'm wary, but I'm not worried, I would say. I think we have got individuals who can create these moments if we need them, but I do agree with everything Tom's just said. There is so much more to come from this team. We don't know what our front three is yet, the best front three. When they get clicking, I think our numbers will go up. The wing backs is another good point. So, yeah, for me, as long as we're solid at the back, I'm not worried. I think if we started leaking goals and giving up a gazillion chances, then I would start to be a little bit concerned. Creatively, yeah, I'm not too worried about that as yet.
Can't wait for us to get tonked 5-0 by Stoke midweek again. We will come to that then, because Chris asks us, and this is just to round off the questions segment of the podcast, high hopes for a win on Tuesday or very high hopes? Personally, for me, I'm unnerved by Stoke. I am. It's not just that it's Matt Robbins, but I think there's just something about Stoke. I looked into our recent record against them. In that last 17 meetings, we've got the upper hand, 7 wins, 5 draws, 5 defeats. So we've accumulated more points than them over that stretch of games. But I don't know what it is. I really, truly, probably don't know what it is about Stoke, but there's something about them. And to be fair, it might be that 5-0 defeat in the Cup. It might be that 2-0 defeat at the Bet365 where they were struggling under Steven Schumacher and we completely flopped. And I remember Luke Ayling had a particularly bad afternoon. It might just be certain games here and there where there's been particularly high stakes and Boro have fallen. And we're essentially in a position now where we want to keep the standard up. We want to keep the unbeaten record going, don't we, as long as we can. And I want to bloody beat Coventry so that we're the last team standing in terms of unbeaten. I know Crystal Palace are unbeaten in the Premier League as well. But I'm a bit unnerved by this game. What do you guys think ahead of it and feel?
I'm cautiously kind of optimistic.
Oh God!
I feel like we've been good at home, and I really want us to kind of go back to that thing that we've only really had for a few seasons, where Riverside's a fortress. No one's kind of coming here and taking easy wins away. We've played a couple of difficult games at home against Sheffield United, who, people might say they were last place. They're not going to be last place for long. I think we all can kind of see the strength of that squad, and then against West Brom as well. Stoke, I think, will be a difficult game. I think it's going to be another one like West Brom, where it is going to be a hard-fought win if we get it. But I am kind of quietly confident that we can do it. The only thing that kind of puts a bit of fear in me, and I've not watched much of Stoke this season. I've seen the EFL highlight show. That's about it. But I know that they've got Divin Mabama playing up front for them, and I signed him on Football Manager a couple of seasons ago.
I knew you were going to say something like that.
Yeah,
I was like, how does Tom know that player?
I'm scared of him, but especially because I never actually played him. He was just out on loan a lot and banging him in the Championship. So yeah. He'll come back just to show me I was wrong to keep loaning him out, I'm sure.
I love that, Tom. You're a very successful FM manager, though, so I take everything you say as gospel. This was of the three games the one I was most worried about. And we were talking earlier about opposition wanting to give the opposition or force them out wide and force them across the ball in the box. I think they've probably got the most informed winger in the league in Sorba Thomas. He's started the season ridiculously well. His quality of crosses are ridiculous. So I do worry if, like what Tom mentioned earlier, if that's what we're kind of looking to do, keep teams out centrally and force them out wide and defend crosses. They've probably got the best crosser in the league right now, arguably. So I do worry if we're allowing Sorba Thomas to put balls into the box and if from set piece situations as well, that could cause us a real issue. So that is unnerving me a little bit, as is just the fact it's Matt Robbins. But we do have Viviash, which is probably the closest to his kryptonite, I would say, hopefully. I think of the two games coming up, that's the one you want to win, definitely. But again, as I said earlier, because we got a point yesterday, I don't think there's as much pressure on this game now. Had we lost at Southampton, I think even though we're still in a fantastic position, I think there would have been a bit more pressure on Stoke, whereas now I think it's another free hit. So I'd like to think just because of that, we can go into it a little bit more relaxed with hopefully another great atmosphere, and that'll help us over the line. But they do have a few individual players who've started the season really well that do unnerve me a little bit as well.
It's so Boro fanism to almost expect that the good that we've got is going to be stolen from our clutches. We all should be pretty confident about this game because we've come into it in really good form, really, really good form. They're hitting the right beats. We're seeing so much positivity, so much good, so much reason to be positive, and yet we're here being a bit unnerved, apart from Tom, who's cautiously optimistic. But I mean, my reaction to that, saying, oh God, I don't know why I'm feeling like that, I just am. But hopefully, come the end of the game, I can kind of be like, oh, what was I talking about? We're completely fine. We will get a perspective from the Stoke City corner, though, because friend of the pod, Ben Rowley, did dial in with us to give us the insight on the Potters.
Hey guys, my name's Ben. I'm a Stoke City fan. I would normally say long-suffering Stoke City fan, but actually I've got to say that Stoke have been quite good this season. I'll get onto that. I'm here to preview our game on Tuesday night at the Riverside, and normally I'd be quite confident going into a Stoke City game lately. We've been really, really good on the whole. There's only one or two games that we've been second best in. Other than that, Stoke have been really composed at the back. We've not conceded many goals at all. I think it's only 5 or 6. Joint lowest in the league, I think, with you guys. We've been really composed, trying to play out from the back as well. Boston Lowell's been a massive part of that. He's been a revelation after being injured for the whole of last season. Him coming back in at the centre of defence has been fantastic. We've been able to go long to players like Divine Mubama, who we have on loan from Manchester City. He's a real danger up front. Not necessarily goal scoring wise, but certainly just to cause a bit of chaos. And bring the wingers into play, who been really good. Millie Manoff blows hot and cold, as we've seen from Stoke in the past, but I've really enjoyed watching him play this season. He looks like he's got a goal in him most of the time. Sorba Thomas has been the revelation, though. He's signed from Huddersfield and has been part of the heart of the success. Goal scoring, assisting, taking players on down the wing, tracking back to help his men out. It's been really good to see, and we are scoring goals, which is such an unusual place for a Stoke City team to be. And not conceding them means that we're winning a few games, alongside you guys, of course. And it's good to see two teams who have struggled in recent years. Certainly Stoke fighting down the wrong end of the table, but Boro perhaps, generating a lot of money from sales, spending that money and not necessarily getting the return that you'd have liked. But under Rod Babbitt, it seemed to have clicked for you guys, and I'm happy for us both to be, it's early on in the season, but to be at a good place. So what do I think of this game? I'm nervous because whenever Stoke have played a good team in form, I'm thinking West Brom, who were flying high at the time, they sort of still are, QPR as well. We've lost and we've struggled. That's not to say we will against Boro. It very much depends on the opposition and are they able to break our press down, basically. And some of our players, it'll be the first test for them because we've always been hampered by injuries in the past and we've not had a 3-game week for them to have the opportunity to break down and get tired yet. But it'll be a really good opportunity to see who's going to come into the team. I imagine there'll be some rotation. We got players like Lamine Cisse on the bench, Romain Sawyers, not Romain Sawyers, sorry, he's from a long time ago, Stephen Nzonzi, who's come back after 10 years away. We've got players like Maxim Televeroff, Ashley Phillips is back after a good loan last year. It'll be really good to see who comes into the team for Stoke and can they, we know we've got a good starting 11 now. It'll be a really good test for the squad, I think. I'm nervous. I think that you guys are going really strong. We are starting to show a couple of weaknesses now, and a good tactical manager will be able to exploit them. So, big first test for us. Yeah, I want to say a Stoke win. My head thinks a Middlesbrough win. So, I'm probably going to go with that. I think I'm probably going to go with you guys, just carrying it away and hope that I've jinxed it. I really do hope that I've jinxed it there and that Stoke can get something from the game. I'd be really pleased if we can do that and then look ahead to some, a good run of fixtures after that where we should be able to get a few more points and hopefully establish ourselves at the top with you guys. But best luck for the game on Tuesday. Best luck for the rest of the season, I suppose. Go on, Stoke.
Thanks for that, Ben. Legend, for giving us his insight there. Yeah, what he is thinking about the Stoke game now after having heard Ben, because I heard composed from playing out from the back and immediately went, exploit that. Make it so that they are not composed from the back. Get that press right. Ian Morris, get into them. Tommy Conway, get into them. And let's see if we could disrupt them. Let's see if we can make it uncomfortable. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. He said about the defensive side of things. They've conceded 5 goals. We've conceded 5 goals. So joint there. We've scored 2 more than them this season. But similarities there with between ourselves and Stoke. What are our predictions for the game? Matt, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I'm going to go with exactly the same as West Brom. I think it'll be another tight game, low scoring. I do think they've got the quality to get on the score sheet, but I think we've also got enough in us to find a way to win. And I think we'll do the same again. Don't know if the goals will be in the same order as what they were against West Brom. I'd like us to maybe get a late winner. Would be nice, but I'm going to go 2-1 Boro. I just think at home, keep the Riverside a fortress and make it a really boisterous atmosphere to put them under pressure. And I do think we can make them crack. So I'm going to go 2-1 Boro.
Tom?
1-0 Boro. I think it'll be a tight game, but I fancy Strelic to get the goal to make it 1-0.
I don't know why. I think I've lost the plot, but I'm feeling 3-1 Boro for some reason. Everything that I said about being unnerved, everything that we've spoken about, Boro not yet finding their click and their rhythm up front and not finding their best trio. I don't know why, but I'm feeling a 3-1. It's either 3-1 or I'm going to nick Tom's prediction of 1-0 Boro, but let me be optimistic and let me say 3-1. What do you think? If you're watching this, please let us know what your predictions are for the Stoke game. We won't have an opposition preview, of course, because it's a very quick turnaround, but still let us know what you're predicting for the Stoke game. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, you can give us a donation on Buy Me a Coffee. It's either a one-off donation or a monthly one. The support is massively appreciated because someone is looking for a new microphone, aren't they, Matt? After he fixed his glasses, actually, from Preston away. But yeah, any donations towards the podcast will be massively appreciated and will be put back into the podcast as well. Again, if you've enjoyed this podcast, make sure to click the like button and subscribe to us. A lot of you aren't subscribed, so make sure that you do. We massively appreciate that support. But we will be back next Sunday to discuss what will hopefully be yet another good week for the Boro. Until then, take care, enjoy your week, and up the Boro Breakdown.